today we are going to talk about silhouettes. There are basic silhouettes and then there are complex silhouettes. Most designers use silhouettes to achieve a certain look and to achieve a certain function. There are different types of silhouettes, some of them basic and some of them complex. Basics being your oval, your rectangulars, and your circles. And then there are complex silhouettes. These are the kind of silhouettes that moves from your norm or what you are used to in a garment and takes you to a world where a design moves away from anything that is usually seen or anything that is known to be. There are different types of functions in terms of silhouettes, and silhouettes perform these following functions. They give the garment a unique appearance, and they are also used to improve the function of the garment, and sometimes they are used to subvert the traditional look of the garment, and sometimes they are used to adhere to the traditional look of the garment, and sometimes they are used to accentuate the body or to conceal the body. And these functions have been used by designers since fashion itself. And so these functions of silhouettes are adopted by the most extravagant fashion houses, most old, which I won't name by names. I'm not sure if I can do that just yet. Also, I don't want to butcher the fashion houses' names because they can be quite complex. But yes, the complex silhouettes that you see, sometimes they exaggerate the oval look, like you are seeing on the jacket that we just saw on the runway. And sometimes they're used to totally take the body out of what we are used to, exaggerate certain features like the shoulders, and sometimes they are used to conceal, and sometimes they are used to drop the shoulders or to give a body a different shape that we are not used to. And why silhouettes are a luxury? Silhouettes are a luxury because silhouettes are a luxury. They are one of the design elements that are harder to produce. So fashion houses have to go through a very extended production process in order to produce them, especially in the garment, in the pattern making process of clothing production. Like we are seeing here, the garment that is currently showing on the screen is basically defying gravity. So it's not sitting on the natural position of the shoulder, as opposed instead it is defying gravity. It's harder to produce these silhouettes. They take time throughout the pattern making process. They take time through the garment construction process, because most of the silhouettes are exaggerated. They're gonna need a whole lot of care in order to create or to achieve certain looks. In the garment construction process, they're gonna need a whole lot of expertise to make sure that, one, they don't collapse, or they use special types of materials. And silhouettes are luxury because they require that much attention to detail that our normal clothes that we see on retail stores just don't require, because most of the time they just adhere to what is already there on the body, and at best they accentuate that or put it together in a way that is well curated. So it's kind of hard for us to access these type of things because they require a certain level of craftsmanship, and this is the type of time that the majority of retailers don't have or are willing to invest into. And so we get access to the basic silhouettes like your rectangles, your ovals, your fit and flare, because it's quite easier to produce those than to produce something that is out of the norm, something that we are not used to. something that is totally outside of our scope when we think of design. So it's quite easy for us as the customers to get used to the clothes that we can only get access to. And this is one of the reasons why I say silhouettes are the most inaccessible part of design that we see today, because you will never find a dress that accentuates the shoulders or just gives you a whole new different shape. Most of the clothes that you find in retail stores are clothes that you have to fit into, not clothes that gives you an option in terms of what you could look like or how you could show up in the world. So most of the time we try to mold ourselves into the clothes as opposed to the clothes working with us to shape and mold something new that we can show up in the world as or with. And because of this inaccessibility, we find ourselves at a space where silhouettes are very much a luxury that can be afforded by someone that's willing to pay a certain amount of money for a certain garment, or can be able to have access to one of these luxury design houses. And silhouette is not something that we have gotten accustomed to playing around with in terms of the commercial scale of things. I feel like in design we haven't even tried to incorporate it in a little bit so that people can have more options than having something that they're already used to, like a bodycon dress or a suit or a pant that is a straight cut, or something that is a narrow cut, or a skirt that is a pencil skirt. So we don't offer those variations, and so a certain huge demographic is cut off from accessing silhouettes. Silhouettes are a genuine part of design because they require a designer to sit down and think through in details how the garment or the pattern is going to look like and how is it going to maintain a certain shape after it's cut. And so it is a part that needs to be protected. It is a part that allows someone to experience design in a very different way, which I think majority of us won't get access to unless somewhere somehow the fashion industry changes its approach in terms of design, or not hoard design silhouettes as a design element to begin with, to be able to share with the people and share silhouettes that are different or going outside of the norm or are subverting in some sort of way, but in a very slight way, in a way that they can be consumed by the consumer. We have different types of fashion groups. We have fashion leaders, we have innovators, and then we have laggards, we have followers. And the huge market consists of followers, fashion followers, which can't get access to this type of fashion because the fashion leaders are not getting access to it because of the price tags that we tend to find. Instead, you would find that most of the clothes that you find in retail stores are not pushing customers to engage more or to expand more or to explore more. It's things that doesn't allow them to move outside of the spectrum that they're used to. So it tends to get a little bit boring, and the things that you find in retail stores are well, very, very questionable in me, so your basic things like your shirts and your bodycons and your fit and flare, which are not challenging as much or doesn't allow the consumer to actually engage with fashion in a different way. in a way that allows them to go outside of their norm, or to take it up a notch, to experience something new. So we need more classic shape. We need more classic shapes that are enhanced. We need shapes that are enhanced for both males and for females. They need to engage in fashion in a very different way. And I know a lot of people don't like to engage with fashion because they always feel like they have to mold themselves to fashion, as opposed to fashion creating new pathways for them to engage with it in a different way, or to say something different, or to have something different. The takeaway from all of this is that you need to find ways to engage with fashion in a different way. And these are not ways that your normal retail is particularly going to provide for you. So you have to be out there. You have to find indie fashion brands that are more on the affordable side, which we have a long way to go in terms of that, because most of design houses uses silhouette as a selling point. This is the reason why, to find something remotely interesting in terms of silhouette, you're going to find clothes that are very, very expensive, because that's the selling point of most of all these other fashion houses. They feel because they're providing that as an option, which is something that you cannot get from your retail stores, then it has to be expensive. So play around with the clothes, find different proportions of different skirts, wear them both at the same time, and then they will provide you with a different interesting silhouette. Find the skirt that is loose and pair it with the one that is less looser, so that you can create different textures and silhouettes and shapes. And also find a tailor if you would. I know most of them are expensive. I wish we change that norm so that more people can need to wear interesting clothes, because we are so limited to a basic t-shirt and a basic jean, and most of the time we're not even trying to play around with silhouettes in terms of dropping the shoulder, in terms of exaggerating the sleeve, in terms of changing the shape of the sleeve or the skirt or the dress or the trouser or the suit and all of that. So most men have limited options, and most women have limited options. And also, please try to alter your clothes, not alter them in a way that is only functional. I know we only go to the tailor to alter our clothes because we want to make them smaller or bigger, or want to patch up a hole that might have somehow made its way to our garment. But learn to redesign your clothes. Like if you get maybe a blazer at the store, try to figure out a way to add certain panels to it, or maybe speak to your tailor and say, hey, I want to make this a little bit bigger here, and I want to make this a little bit smaller here. So can you please do that for me, so that we can somehow use or engage with tailoring in a way that is interesting, not just to make clothes fit us more, but to redesign them in a way that is interesting for us. I think the more of us do that, the more we're going to find it easier to get access to silhouettes, because most of them are expensive, because they are fashion luxury selling points, as I've said before. And because of this, it becomes harder to get access to them. And because they are not easily produced, you'd find that your local retailer is not necessarily going to have something as interesting or daring. They're not going to play with proportions. Whatever you get is going to be something that has always been there, meaning the skirt is going to be at a certain level, at a certain length, and your dress is going to be at a certain length. For men, you're going to get a straight cut, you're going to get a narrow cut, you're going to get, you hardly will get a wide cut. You hardly will get pleats anywhere. You hardly will get exaggerated shoulders. You will get something that will enhance what's already there. So all these things, all these methods are ways that you can engage your silhouettes because they are not easily accessible. And I hope all of us can find a way to engage with fashion in a more interesting way and get access to all these things that we don't necessarily see in retail stores, especially in fashion retail stores, and especially as of late. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you go out there and you try to look at clothes a little bit more differently. Wear something a little odd that you're not used to. Exaggerate your shoulders if they're a little bit smaller. Elongate your torso if it's a little bit shorter, and all of that. Layer your clothes from a crop top to something longer underneath. Just play around with them and create clothes and wear them as if they are canvas to tell a story through, as opposed to something that you have to mold into. I think that's where I am at in terms of design, and I wish more people could find more access to fashion than just a basic jean and a t-shirt that you find in your retail store. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what I had to share, or if it does provide you with any value, please like and subscribe. I would love to see you again here watching and listening to my videos. I hope until then, take care of yourself, you drink more water, and you meditate, and you have times where you turn off your phone. Bye.